Hi, I'm Belle from France. Please like and subscribe. I'd lived in an orphanage ever since I could remember, but I was always curious about my parents, and I'd annoy the warden with my questions.
Are you an evil witch who took me from my parents because my hair has magic powers? Tell me now, or else. I heard about a girl whose parents were astronauts and they got stuck on the moon. Do you think my parents are there too?
Are you skipping class again? Why are you such a nuisance? There you are, Belle. So sorry, ma'am. I'll just take her away. Miss Vivian was our teacher and my best friend at the orphanage. She couldn't have children of her own, and she was really attached to me. And I adored her. She could always get me to study by promising me to help me with my singing later.
I don't really need school because I'm going to be a famous singer one day.
Yeah, but there's no harm in having some options, right? My life at the orphanage was good, but when I turned 15, things took a wild turn. Miss V had told me about a talent show she'd applied to on my behalf, and I'd gotten an audition next week. But when my chance came, my nerves took over and I messed it up completely. Miss V tried consoling me, but I was just really disappointed with myself. As we were walking back home, I suddenly saw a masked guy running my way, with a lady yelling behind him. He took my bag. Please, stop him. Without another thought, I grabbed a trash can and threw it in the thief's way, making him trip over it. I snatched the bag from him before he managed to run away. As the woman came closer, my jaw dropped. She was a singer named Madeline, and I was a huge fan. OMG, Madeline, is it really you? I just love… No, don't touch me. You touched trash just now. Then she took her bag from me and walked off to her car without even saying thank you. Hey, you're so rude. Just because you're a celebrity, you think you can treat people like garbage? Some of the people watching us had started recording on their phones and booing Madeline. No, wait, I wasn't going to drive away. Sweetie, I'm sorry. I was just shaken because of that thief. Please, come in. I'll drop you wherever you want. I knew she was just being nice because of the angry mob, but she kept insisting. So I agreed, and she took us back to the orphanage. But the next morning when I went downstairs, I was surprised to see some kids gathered around Madeline. And she said she needed to talk to me privately. Hey, Belle, I have something to tell you. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just can't shake off my gut feeling. You see, 15 years ago, I had a daughter, but my career was just kicking off. So after birth, I left her at the hospital. What? I regretted the decision and tried looking for my baby, but I couldn't find her. And when I saw you yesterday, I noticed your green eyes, and we have the same hair color. I think you're my daughter. I know it sounds crazy, but would you agree to a DNA test? I was stunned, and I didn't believe it, but I gave Madeline a hair sample, and the next day, she returned with the DNA forms that confirmed we were a 100% match. Madeline, the famous singer, was my mom, and she wanted to readopt me. My head was just spinning, and Miss V made things worse. Belle, are you seriously thinking about going with that woman? She was so rude to you the day before, and now suddenly she's your loving mom? Something about her is off. I can feel it. Come on, she was stressed that day, and the DNA test shows she's my mom. I've always wondered who my parents are, and now I get the chance to know one of them, to have a family. I'm just supposed to let that go? I thought I was your family, and I can't let you go with her. I won't. You can't stop me, Miss V. This is hard for me too, but you're just being paranoid. Miss Vivian's eyes teared up, and she just walked off. Well, if she couldn't be happy for me, then fine. And I left with Madeline soon after. I couldn't help overhearing that woman, and she was being so weird and possessive about you. It's not normal. It's also not normal for a mom to abandon her child for her career. I may have agreed to come with you, but I haven't forgiven you yet. And Miss V loves me. Sweetie, I understand your anger, and I have a lot of making up to do. You want to be a singer, right? I will start by making that happen. Also, if Miss Vivian loves you, she should be happy you're getting a better life. I felt troubled, but then forgot everything when we reached Madeline's mansion. It was bigger than a mall. My assistant Juliet will show you to your room, and then I have an amazing spa day planned for us. Juliet wouldn't make eye contact with me, and after taking me to my room, she walked off without a word. Rude. But I couldn't help being excited that I was gonna live like royalty. I was hoping to get to know Madeline more, but the spa day was more of a makeover day. And the next thing I knew, I was being whisked off to a TV interview. Madeline, I'm not ready for this. I've never been on camera and I need time to process everything. What's there to process, love? You're the daughter of a star, and you need to believe it. And I just can't wait for the world to see my angel. Also, could you please call me Mom? The next few weeks were a blur of interviews and events, and we were constantly surrounded by paparazzi. Madeline would always get so emotional, and people just loved the story of how we'd been reunited after all these years. But I still didn't know much about my mom. We hardly got the chance to be alone, and she hadn't even heard me sing yet. Late one night, I went down to the kitchen when I heard loud voices from Madeline's studio in the basement. Juliet, you don't sound good on this song at all. Well, I'm sorry, but I had a cold that day. We're just gonna have to record it again. And when I heard Juliet singing, I nearly had a stroke. That was Madeline's voice. Just then, Madeline spotted me, and she asked me to come in. I guess there's no point in trying to hide anything now. Belle, you've discovered the family secret. Wait, Juliet's been the voice behind all your songs? Yes, she wanted a steady job, and I wanted to be famous, but wasn't as talented. So we struck a deal at the start of my career. It worked out splendidly. So you've been taking the credit for her talent and fooling all your fans? That's just wrong. Excuse me, I didn't ask for your opinion. Okay, so I'm not completely honest with my fans, but either way, I still entertain millions. You're too naive to understand all this, and you're certainly not allowed to tell anyone. Do you hear me? Maybe Miss V was right about her. If she could lie about such a big thing, who knew what else she was lying about? Honey, I want to apologize for the way I spoke to you. And I got you the latest iPhone. This doesn't make up for it. I've always admired you as a singer, and now I find out it's all fake, and no one will ever know it's Juliet. Belle, do you know what it's like to really want something, but everyone tells you you can't have it? I always dreamed of being a singer, but my family said I wasn't good enough, and I just wanted to show them. Juliet willingly signed the contract, and I've always paid her generously. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, I guess. As long as you're paying Juliet well and treating her nicely, I can keep your secret. That's my girl. And no interviews tomorrow. We'll have a movie night. Just you and me. The next evening, while we were watching a movie, I turned to Madeline. Do you have some skin cream? My birthmark is really itchy. Madeline pulled out a jar from her drawer, but when I asked her to put it on, she looked confused. Why can't you put it on yourself? Because I can't reach it? You do know my birthmark is on my back, right? Of course I know. It's just been a long time, honey. But yes, it's on your back. Lift your shirt, please. Actually, it's on my thigh, and it's the size of Africa. The only way you'd forget that is if you never knew it in the first place. What's gotten into you? Madeline, I know you're not my mom. You've lied about everything. So I really don't have to believe that DNA test either. Okay, I'm not your mom. You caught me. But listen, you did all this for publicity, didn't you? Just so you could tell the world about your long-lost daughter and capture everyone's interest and sell albums? You're a monster. Please, let me explain. I did do it for publicity because it's so hard to stay on top in this industry. But I do love you and I want to have you around. If I did something that helps me and also gives an orphan an amazing life, why is that a bad thing? I'm not your charity case to show off and use to make money. It's late now, but tomorrow morning, I'm going back to the orphanage. I won't lie to anyone about being your daughter. I stormed off to my room before Madeline could say more. She was unbelievable. But the next morning, when I went down with my bags, I saw a doctor leaving Madeline's room, and I found out that she had a high fever. I was sure she was faking that too, but the doctor confirmed that she was down with a bad infection. Belle, please come here. Listen, I'm sorry. Please, don't go. Not like this. Madeline, just get some rest, okay? I'm here. I didn't want to stay, but I just couldn't leave her when she was so sick. The paparazzi were gonna find out when I went back to the orphanage, so I'd let her deal with all that media frenzy once she was better. But I couldn't help calling Miss Vivian, and hearing her voice, I broke down and told her everything. I'm so sorry. You were right about Madeline. Her whole life is a lie, and she pulled me into it. And maybe I never really believed she was my mom, but I wanted to. I don't blame you, Belle. And I was being selfish too, because it was hard to let you go. I can't wait to see you soon. I stayed by Madeline's side till she recovered completely. But as I was packing my stuff again, Madeline walked into my room. Belle, don't leave me, please. You're only saying that because you're worried about your reputation once the truth comes out. Sorry, I can't help you anymore. Then let me make you an offer you can't refuse. I want to feature a duet by you and Juliet on my album releasing next week. And then I'll launch your solo career. The publicity we've received helps us both. With me, you can become a pop star overnight. You'll never get a chance like this again. Trust me. Here Madeline was, handing me my dreams on a silver platter. And it was true. Once I got back to the orphanage, people would forget me soon, and I'd struggle to be a singer. I couldn't really trust her, but Madeline called me and Juliet to the studio the very next day to record a song together. It was the most thrilling experience, and she was blown away by my talent. You have the voice of an angel, darling. You're really gonna go places. The album was released, and it exploded. The duet people thought Madeline and I sang together shot straight to #1 on the charts, and it was all you could hear everywhere. One day, when Madeline and I were at an album signing event, I spotted Miss V in the line and ran to her. Miss V, how've you been? I've been meaning to call. But you got busy becoming a star, right? I'm happy that your dreams are coming true, but are you sure this is how you want it? What do you mean? You said Madeline's whole life was a lie, and now yours is too. You're part of her secret, and you're faking being her daughter. This lie will just grow deeper, and then you'll have to give it up forever. Are you okay doing that? I stood there speechless. I just came to tell you that I got a job in another city, and I'm leaving next month. I wanted to wish you luck and say goodbye. I hope you'll do the right thing, Belle. I know you have that in you. I was bummed out for days after that meeting, and I just couldn't shake off her words. Soon after, Juliet came down with a bad throat infection. It turned out to be laryngitis, and she recovered in a couple of weeks. But the doctor said she could no longer sing, and Madeline went ballistic. What? No, you're fine now. You can speak, right? Why can't you sing? The doctor said straining her vocal cords could damage them forever. But she has to try. I'll take you anywhere to get you treated. Madeline, I've served you for 15 years. I think I'm done, okay? Done? You're done? Have you forgotten our deal and what I can do? What are you talking about? My mother worked as a maid in Madeline's family home, and my brother stole all their precious heirlooms. He'd already sold them by the time he got caught, and he was going to end up in prison for years. But Madeline kept him out, as long as I agreed to be her singing voice. I've been repaying her debt all this time, but I'm just tired now. Juliet, if the robbery happened 15 years ago, she can't charge your brother for that crime anymore. You don't know what you're talking about. And why are you complaining, Juliet? You were just a maid, and I've done so much for you. Just stop. You're a terrible person who'll always find a way to justify every selfish act. Juliet is done with you, and so am I. And so is your career, because you have no talent. And the family you wanted to impress so badly, well, I don't see them around either. Enjoy the rest of your sad, lonely life with your money, because that's what you did everything for. Juliet and I left Madeline for good, and I couldn't get fast enough to the orphanage. Miss V was leaving that day, and I hoped I wasn't too late. I caught her just as she was putting her bags in a cab. Belle? What are you... I did the right thing, Miss V. And wherever you're going, I'm coming with you. I won't take no for an answer. I would like nothing more, love, but what about your career? I'll tell everyone the truth, and then we'll figure it out. I actually have talent, remember? I want to do things the right way, even if it's harder.
Hi,
Hi, I'm Maria from Monterrey, Mexico. Please like and subscribe. I don't mean to brag, but I'm the front woman for the coolest band in town. Okay, I meant to brag a little bit. We rocked. There were 3 of us, me on guitar and lead vocals, Pablo on bass, and Noemi on drums. Crowds loved us. Or at least the crowds at our local high school and the music clubs did. We hadn't been on a big tour or anything like that yet, but I really wanted to show the world what we could do. I imagined us playing in front of sold-out crowds in Tokyo, LA, Buenos Aires, Paris. We just needed someone who believed in us enough to pay for it. Pablo didn't care about fame or record deals like I did. He was in it for the love of music. I was too, but I wanted to share our music with everyone everywhere. Pablo just wanted to rock out for our local fans. After school, we were rehearsing in my garage for our show that night. We had this year's Battle of the Bands coming up too. We came in second last year, and Pablo's still mad about it. The band who beat us, the Pink Ponies, were really good though. Plus, the girls were nice, so I didn't mind. But this year, we were gonna win. Did you guys hear? There are supposed to be some VIPs at the concert tonight. Like who? Who cares? We don't play music for those guys. We play for our fans. Why not both? I think Noemi regretted bringing it up, but I'm glad she did. That night, I wore my most fire outfit. If there really were gonna be some VIPs there, I wanted to make an impression. In the green room, we put our hands in like we always do before starting a show. Then we lifted our hands at the same time, cheered, and strutted out onto the stage. The venue was packed. There must have been a few hundred people there. You'd probably think I was nervous, but I wasn't. This was where I felt most at home. On stage with a guitar in my hands and a mic in front of me. I strummed the first chord and the crowd went nuts. It wasn't always like this. When I was younger, I was super shy. Even my parents thought I was a wallflower. All the other kids seemed so free and joyful, but I didn't know how to be myself like that. I was always stuck in my own head. Then one day in class, we were reading a play. It was a musical, but all my classmates and even the teacher were just reading the words in a monotone voice like a robot. When it was my turn to read a part, I started to sing. I don't even know why I did that. I wasn't planning to or anything, but in the moment, inspiration struck and the notes just poured out of me. Everyone stopped what they were doing. The sleeping students woke up to listen, and the ones who were already awake sat up straight. When I finished, the whole room burst into applause. Later that day at recess, Pablo approached me. He had never said a word to me before then. Not because he was a jerk or anything, I just kept to myself mostly. He said he was starting a band and wanted to know if I would join. Fast forward to now, and here we are performing together for a sold-out crowd. Pablo slapped the bass while I busted out a guitar solo. Noemi played her heart out on the drums. After the show, we stayed at the club to hang out and meet some of our fans.
Excuse me.
A man in a fancy suit approached us. His suit looked like it cost more than my guitar. He stood out from our other fans. He didn't seem like he was from around here.
I'm Darren Smith. I work for MSA Records. You guys put on one heck of a show.
Thanks so much.
I'd love to have you guys drop by for a meeting. We have a lot to discuss.
We do?
Absolutely. I see a very bright future for the band. With my label's help, your name will be in the lights.
He handed me a business card, flashed a $1 million grin, and left. Wow. I had so much fun playing that night that I had completely forgotten about the VIPs. But now, a big shot at a hot new record label wanted to collaborate? Things were really working out. At the record label building, Noemi, Pablo, and I all sat down for our meeting. There were plaques and awards on the walls and glossy photos of some incredible artists and bands. I had always aimed to be in the same league as those artists, but now someone important thought so too. Pablo wasn't nearly as excited as I was. He seemed skeptical, but that's just how he was. He had a hard time trusting people. Noemi was much more chill. She was the type to go with the flow.
I'll cut to the chase. I think you guys are the real deal, and I'd like to sign you. How does that sound to you?
Sounds amazing.
We need to see the contract first.
What they said.
Of course. I think you'll find it's more than generous. Your tour, equipment, sound guy, roadies, all of it will be fully paid for by the label, along with generous compensation.
The 3 of us looked over the contract. My eyes bugged out at 2 words. Global tour.
Hold on. What's this part about a 4th band member? That's part of the deal. You guys are good now, but imagine how great you could be with a 2nd guitar player. It'll really round out your sound.
Do we get to choose the new member?
I'm afraid not. The label's already picked someone, but I have no doubts he'll be a fantastic addition to your band.
Just then, maybe the hottest guy I'd ever seen walked into the room. He had a pierced ear and this floppy hair that covered one eye. I wanted to brush it for him.
Guys, I'd like you to meet your new rhythm guitar player, Tommy. Tommy is a killer musician. He also happens to be my son.
Tommy jammed his hands in his pockets, nodding to us casually. Noemi and I made moon eyes at him, while Pablo gave him the death stare.
What do you say? Do we have a deal? We'll think about it.
Yes, we have a deal! The next day, we had our first rehearsal as a 4-piece. Tommy was late.
Unbelievable. This jerk hasn't even been in the band for a full day and he's already late? How do we even know he can play? Why doesn't he have his own band? He needed Daddy to pull some strings?
Pablo, at least give him a chance. What if he's great? Just then, Tommy appeared. He already had his guitar plugged in. He didn't say a word. I was mortified. Had he heard what Pablo just said about him? I wanted to throw something at Pablo, but I needed to keep my cool. What if Tommy went back to his dad and said we weren't ready and they canceled the tour? Tommy started to play. He was shredding. I'd never seen fingers move that fast before. It looked like little lightning bolts were coming off his guitar. Noemi nodded along, then kicked in on the drums. I strummed some chords, and even Pablo was impressed and joined in on bass.
That good enough for you?
Noemi and I definitely thought so.
Not bad, man. You've got some chops. Sorry I judged you.
We were all feeling great after the rehearsal. Now that we had Tommy on guitar, there was no way we wouldn't win the Battle of the Bands this year. Tommy hung back after Noemi and Pablo left.
Hey, I was hoping we could talk alone for a minute.
I could feel my palms start to sweat. Maybe he wanted to practice one-on-one.
My dad told me to say this to you before sharing it with the rest of the band.
Of course, he was only talking to me because his dad asked him to.
He wants to make some changes to the band's image, punch things up a little. If we're going to be performing all over the world, the band can't wear the same clothes on stage that they do in geometry class.
I don't know if Noemi and Pablo will go for that.
He thought they might resist. That's why they should hear it from you. You're the leader of this band, Maria. They'll listen to you.
I had never thought of myself as the leader before. We were all equally important. But Tommy wasn't wrong that Pablo and Noemi listened to me. And besides, what harm could it do to dress up a bit? It's not like he was asking us to change our music. And at the end of the day, that's what really mattered. I'll talk to them.
Thanks, Maria. I knew I could count on you. Just one more thing. My dad wants to move up the dates of the tour. We leave Saturday.
But the Battle of the Bands is Saturday. We've spent all year preparing for it.
Who cares about some local competition? It's a bunch of townies who will never go anywhere. I'm talking about a global tour here.
He took my hands just then.
Maria, my dad thinks you could really be a star.
And what do you think?
I think he's right.
That night, I called an emergency band meeting at our favorite club. I hoped that would soften the blow, but I was still nervous to break the news. So, it looks like our tour dates have changed. They want us to leave for Europe on Saturday.
You told them no, right? We can't miss the Battle of the Bands.
I said we'd do it. And not only that, they have these new outfits they want us to wear.
Sorry, who made you dictator? Last time I checked, we all got an equal vote. And I vote we play Battle of the Bands like we planned, in our normal clothes. Noemi, what's your vote?
Battle of the Bands.
Sorry, Maria. Can I see the outfits, though?
Guys, this is a global tour, just like we always wanted.
No, that's what you always wanted, not us. You've changed, Maria. Some new guy joins the band and suddenly you don't care what anyone else thinks but him? It's selfish.
There's nothing wrong with having big dreams. Sorry I have higher hopes for the band than just playing in the same old clubs all the time for the same old townies. I felt guilty immediately. I really loved our fans. I didn't mean to insult anyone. Pablo just made me so frustrated sometimes. He stared at me. He was mad, I knew that. But there was something else there too, like he was hurt.
Have fun in Europe.
Pablo stormed off. Noemi looked guilty. I felt bad for getting her caught in the middle like that. You know I always support you, Maria. Just be careful. Tommy doesn't know you like we do. He might not have your best interests at heart. She hugged me. Text me when you go to the Eiffel Tower. At the record label the next morning, I broke the bad news. I told Darren and Tommy that Pablo and Noemi weren't coming. There was no way we could do the tour without them.
What are you talking about? Of course you can. Drummers and bassists are a dime a dozen. The label will just hire new ones. You and Tommy are the faces of the band anyway.
I didn't like him talking about my friends like that, like they were replaceable. Had this been the plan all along? To get rid of Pablo and Noemi? Stop it, Maria, I told myself. You're about to live your dream. Pablo and Noemi chose to stay behind. You tried to convince them, and they said no. That Saturday, I watched the planes take off as we arrived at the airport. I started to get excited. This time tomorrow, I would be in Paris. Later, Tommy and I were waiting in the terminal for a flight to start boarding. I glanced over at Tommy's phone. He was browsing photos of our recent rehearsals. I looked closer. Every single photo was of himself. You couldn't even see me or Pablo or Noemi. Doubt started to nag at me again. I thought back on all the great times my band and I had shared together. The day Pablo approached me at recess. Our first jam session. The three of us at that late-night diner after our shows. The new guitar strap Pablo gave me for my birthday. Suddenly, I stood up.
The plane's not boarding yet.
I grabbed my guitar case and started to run.
My dad spent a lot of money on this tour.
Looks like you're playing solo. I raced outside and took the first taxi I could find. I just hoped I'd get there in time. The venue was crazy busy when I got there. People were squeezed in shoulder to shoulder. I could barely move. The Pink Ponies were playing up a storm on stage. The good news was that meant our band hadn't played yet. The bad news was the Pink Ponies sounded amazing. They were going to be hard to beat. Backstage, I found Noemi and Pablo getting ready. Guys, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made a decision without asking what you both wanted first. I got carried away, but this is what matters. Right here, us. They were silent. I was scared. Maybe they wouldn't take me back. Maybe it was too late.
Come on, we've got a competition to win.
Welcome back, Maria. Noemi spun her drumstick and grinned at me. It was our turn to take the stage. We played the best show of our lives. It felt so good to be back on stage with my friends. Afterwards, we waited to hear the judge's verdict. Pablo asked to speak to me privately.
Sorry if I was a jerk. I just remember how quiet you used to be before you started singing. And then you found your voice, and you were incredible. Don't let anyone ever take your voice away.
I'm sorry too. I guess I really believed for a second that I could be a star one day. That's what Tommy said.
He was wrong.
Of course you don't think I could be. To you, I'm just plain old Maria.
Maria, he was wrong to say one day. You're a star now.
And then something crazy happened. Pablo leaned in and kissed me. It turned out he had had a crush on me since forever, but he was worried acting on it might hurt the band. But I was glad he did. There was nothing that could stop us now. Noemi joined us as the judges stood to announce the winner, the Pink Ponies, in second place. And in first place, us. We jumped up and down and hugged each other. One day, we would play a show in Europe. But right now, I couldn't have been happier to be where I was.